Hiking over rough terrain well before sunrise on a moonless night is a bit unnerving. It's not something I often do, but it was important to get an early start this morning. I'm not afraid of the dark, but I'm certainly a bit uncomfortable when I don't have a clear view of my surroundings. The hike to Subway is roughly 4 miles each way over rough terrain with limited stretches of defined trail. Most of the hike involves scrambling over large rocks, through bushes, and over loose ground. Doing this hike in the dark does have its advantages, though. For those that are familiar with the trail, darkness tends to make the hike seem much faster. I was the first at the parking lot this morning, but another group arrived just after me and quickly hit the trail while I was still getting ready. I caught up with them a quarter mile down the trail, and as it turns out, it was a group of fellow photographers who I knew. We chatted for a while, then I took off on my own. I knew it was important to cover as much ground as possible and as fast as possible. This was the only way for me to arrive both ahead of the light, but also to be the first person at Archangel Falls this morning. I needed time to set up my shot and work the composition without fear of holding up other photographers or sacrificing anything in the process. I arrived at Archangel Falls before the glow, which was a massive feat considering I was carrying 65 pounds on my back. I had the falls in complete solitude, which was a first for me. In the past, I photographed this scene in vertical orientation to show the entire cascade and not chop off an important pine tree at the top of the composition. This year, my goal is to find a well-balanced horizontal composition. Over the years, I've gotten better at using rear camera movements and was able to use them to shrink the background tree and allow the elements to align just right within the frame. I settled on a composition, used a polarizer to help reveal the red sandstone, and waited for a break in the wind. I exposed 3 sheets of Ektar and 3 sheets of Velvia. It's a high contrast scene, so Ektar did best, and one of those exposures had almost no evidence of wind. I had the falls to myself for almost an hour, and was wrapping up my shot when the others arrived. I felt a sense of satisfaction to have found the composition I wanted, with both ideal weather and fall color. I took my time packing my gear and watched as the other photographers took turns working the beautiful scene. Archangel Falls is a little slice of paradise, and I was thankful to have it to myself for as long as I did. After shooting the photo, I headed up canyon to Subway proper to pay it a visit. I'm satisfied with my photo from this area, so this was merely a way of visiting an old friend. By revisiting a location, I gained a greater appreciation for the many hours of work I've spent in the past. It took 4 visits to Subway before I finally walked away with a photo I was happy with. On my first attempt, I learned that a polarizer was necessary to control strong reflection in the foreground pool. I returned 1 month later with a polarizer in hand, only to have difficulty finding a composition I was satisfied with. It's so dark in there that I had great difficulty seeing the image on my ground glass. A visit during the spring proved unproductive due to high water levels, and finally on my 4th attempt, I captured the photo I was hoping for. The conditions are beautiful that year, and the resulting photo was both technically and compositionally a success. Sometimes it's easy to look back at one's own work from many years ago and criticize it for one reason or another. You can imagine how satisfying it is to revisit a location and realize that your past work truly does the location justice. It's a humbling feeling. At Subway proper, I met up with a small group of photographers from earlier that morning. Among them was Mark, Tommy, and Alan, along with another excellent photographer named Justin. Both Alan and Justin shoot large format, so it was fun to see a variety of cameras set up to photograph Subway. I visited for a while, then decided to get an early start on my return hike. I headed down canyon around 1 p.m. to ensure that I would be out of the canyon by sunset. With nearly all my film exposed for the day, I felt a sense of accomplishment as I hiked out of the canyon that afternoon. There's something very special about Subway, and I look forward to visiting again next year.